Hello, the internet, how's it going? My name's Ben Ellis and I'm a bass player, and today I want to make a couple of videos about some Curtis Novak pickups for the Fender Precision bass. My main gig is playing with Iggy Pop, but I also play for artists like Anna Calvi, Razor Light, Mark Hammond, Swerve Driver and the Catherine Wheel. Before we get into the proper nerdy bass stuff, here's a little video from behind the drum kit of me playing on stage with Mr. Iggy Pop. Welcome. What I want to do today is try out, like road test, if you want, a couple of interesting sounds and pickups for the Fender Precision bass. I'm a big Precision bass fan. It was kind of my first love as a bass player. I really kind of fell in love with the sound of that instrument. And I still play PBCs every day, really. I own two of them. This is a 1960s style bass. It's a 62 reissue that was made in the year 2000, but it's very much in the style of the 60s P bass. It's very big and kind of warm sounding. It's got flatwound strings on it and a rosewood fretboard, which sort of brings out the warmth, really. And this other one is a 1977 Precision bass. And that is one of those late 70s Fenders with a really super heavy body. So this is has a bit more kind of an aggressive high frequency thing going on. It's quite clanky sounding, so if you dig in with your fingers or a pick, it really cuts in a kind of rock scenario. And because of the heavy body, when you play it softly, it just has a really kind of pure sort of piano-like tone, which I really like. So they're quite different sounding guitars. The pickups that I want to try are made by a guy called Curtis Novak. Here's what they came in. I got in touch with Curtis and I asked him if he had anything that could sort of warm up the sound of this bass. Normally when I use it live, it's going through a whole bunch of valves, so something like an Ampeg SVT or like an old school Fender Bassman, 70s kind of Bassman vibe. What I've realised is when I'm recording at home just into an interface, it sounds a little bit kind of sterile, and I wanted something to sort of harmonically make it a bit more interesting. So I chatted a little bit with Curtis, and what he suggested were two different pickups that he makes for the Precision. One called the PB-90 and one called the PB-CC. And these are unusual bass pickups in that they are based around the magnets that are normally used in a Gibson P90 pickup. P90s are kind of vintage era pickups for guitar that are famous for being really harmonically rich. So I'm really interested to hear how these sound in both of these bass guitars. The PB90 is like a traditional P bass pickup. It has that sort of little mid-range bump that the Precision bass is kind of famous for. And the PBCC was more inspired by a jazz player called Charlie Christian, who Curtis really loves. And that's got the P90 vibe going on, so the harmonic richness, but a flatter frequency response right across the board. So it doesn't have that little kind of mid-range, kind of 1K or whatever it is, boost that a Precision bass normally has. So what I'm going to do is get my soldering iron out and put both of these pickups in both of these guitars. Then I'll play a little bit, maybe test drive some Iggy songs, some other bits and bobs that I do. And this will all just be plugged direct into my interface, which is over there. Flat EQ, no compression, nothing fancy pants. Just me, the strings, the guitars, the pickups, and let's see how they sound. All right, let's get busy. So that's the PB-90 in both of these basses. I'm going to grab a soldering iron now, get busy, and put the PBCC in both of these, and let's hear what that sounds like. Alright, I hope this gives you a really good flavour of how both these pickups sound in both of these guitars. And if you're thinking about changing out the pickup in your P-Bass, that this is helpful and it gives you some information to help you make a decision. My opinion on both of them is pretty great. I really like things that tonally do something interesting, and I thought that these just harmonically they have a richness that you don't get from the straight Fender pickups. Most of that is kind of in that sort of low mids area, and that's kind of where it really counts with the bass guitar for me. The PB-90 has all the great things about a traditional P-Bass sound. It has that mid-range bump. It's just a lot more interesting. So for that reason, I'm going to put the PB-90 in my old school kind of Jameson Motown sounding Fender P-Bass. Those are going to work great together. The PBCC, it was really interesting to hear a precision bass without that sort of mid-range boost. I thought it made the P-Bass sound much more contemporary and much more modern. So if you want to use a P-Bass but you don't want that sort of traditional kind of like Motown classic sound, then a PBCC is great. Also, I thought when you use this kind of sound in a mix with other instruments, it's going to open up more space. So anything that lives where that sort of mid-range boost normally is, so like the snare drum, the bottom end of guitars, kind of organ sounds, anything like that, it will open up more room for them in a mix. I also thought in this bass that it was made it a bit kind of like more serious sounding. It gave it a bit more gravitas, and that really brought out this sort of piano tone of this guitar, which I really love. And also because it was lacking that kind of midi warm boost that you're used to, it meant that when you dig in, that clank was a bit more pronounced. So it was a winner all over. So I'm going to put the PBCC in my 70s P-Bass. I think they're going to work really well together. If you have any questions about any of this, please drop me a note in the comments and I'll try and answer them. Also, I want to just give some props to Curtis and his team for how well these things are made. Everything from the really super cool kind of 50s packaging to the handwritten stuff on the pickups, the fact that they're hand wound, it just brings a really good vibe. You feel like they've been made with a lot of love and care. And when you're a superstitious musician like me, and probably like a lot of you guys are, to have something like that in an instrument that you cherish just makes the vibe good. You know how important the vibe is. It just sort of, things sound good because they have a good vibe, and it brings a lot of that nice energy. So if that's important to you, there's plenty of that going on as well. Please, if you like this, do subscribe. I'm going to do a few more of these, possibly some playthroughs of songs I play with the artists I play with as well. I'll have a think about that and see how that feels. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it's been helpful. It's been really fun for me to do this. Lots of love to all the bass players. Keep making lots of amazing noise with the bass. It's the best instrument, right? That's why we play it. So loads of love and all the low notes, and thank you so much for listening.